Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's research was that he had been a massive advocate for yoga as a movement, but as a therapy based process. This was really interesting to me because probably around 2015, possibly even earlier than that, I'd actually been invited to talk about yoga and its role in therapy. Movement was not necessarily seen as a realistic or reliable form of therapy. After all, yoga in particular, there's so many different forms. But now we know a little bit more about muscles and the ability for the release of different types of hormones. So, BDNF is a great example of not just upregulating the volume of the hormone that's actually produced, but actually the upregulation of the receptors that's actually created. And we do that through exercise. And then we've also demonstrated that one of the reasons we say that weight bearing exercise and yoga is a form of weight bearing exercise is really useful because that is a pull, the muscle pulls on the bone and the bone releases its own hormones. And that in itself will actually signal to the brain in order to increase both the memory aspect of it, but also checking in on the growth and the other growth hormones. This is really important, not just as you age, not just for memory, but in order to keep the brain relatively sharp and in order to encourage your brain in order to learn new things. Yoga for you is a new form, then I encourage you in order to take a look at these variety of styles that are worth trying, especially if you're dealing with depression. There's a form called restorative. It's a little gentler than your hatha yoga, which is your typical beginner friendly yoga. If you've ever been to a outdoor yoga class or one of those free yoga classes, they usually take you through a hatha process that is about the sun salutation. So there's a lot of upward stretches as well as floor-based stretches. Hatha is where most people start. Restorative, on the other hand, almost has a kind of prop-based, really stretch, fairly deeply passive movement. Almost no effort required if you're waking up inside your bed, simply stretching and moving through the hips is a form of essentially getting movement into that joint and feeling like you can actually increase your flexibility. Yin is somewhere between the hatha and the restorative aspect of it. Yin has slow, floor based stretches. You hold the position and you really let the body warm into the position. I really enjoy yin, especially if it's done inside a hot yoga studio, as it really requires you to be comfortable in the sense of there's a physical comfort, but comfort with silence and stillness and release, which is super important for mental health. Finally, there's yoga nidra. If you have listened to YouTube videos, especially if insomnia is a big issue for you, then this is essentially a guided lying down meditation. You're in a position that's called shavasana, or you might have, if for your back, because if you've got a sore back, might find that it's either in order to line your back but keep your legs propped up or bent at the waist as if you were sitting in lotus position but decided to lie down. There's really no movement at all. The movement is internal and inside your mind. And a lot of it is held through listening and imagination. So you'll usually be invited in order to move a visual image like a body of light or something through the body or bear attention to different parts and joints. That in itself allows you, in order to have that body awareness that we're constantly talking about in thought movement food. This is so good for both the thought and the movement, and is there in order to really encourage you to have a consistent, low barrier practice that you can do at home, no cost required. Jump onto YouTube or simply just do a couple of stretches while you're at home and really encourage you in order to make that a regular practice. Let me know how you go with that. Ping me if you'd like a particular yoga routine in order to be demonstrated, or we can walk through different cards with that. Thanks.